All right, let Coach get us started and we'll put it up.
Okay, good morning. Well, after watching the film last Saturday, we were very pleased with our execution in all three phases. Pleased with how tough and physical our guys played. And we know there's still a ton to clean up. We had a really good practice yesterday. We know there's always room for improvement, and for sure, even with the score that we ended with on Saturday, there was still lots of improvement in all three phases that we have to clean up to get to where we want to go. So our guys definitely, it was very exciting to get some results from all the hard work that our team has been putting in, and that was a big emphasis. Is hey, we need some results from these extremely hard practices that we've had, and so we were happy about that. But now we got to go back to work. Got to go back to work, and our guys have already gone back to work, and now we're getting ready to prepare for conference play.
Jimmy, you rotated a lot of guys at a lot of positions, even from the get-go, it kind of felt like in that game, except for the offensive line. It looked like the same five guys until things got kind of away from Arkansas State. How much was that just by design to let those five guys play with each other and kind of find their way a little bit?
Yeah, that's very typical. We rarely would rotate guys up front in the offensive line. We want those guys to gel together as the game goes throughout. Now, things change. If there's a competition at a position and maybe guys deserve some more playing time, there could be a rotation at one spot. But I think for the most part, you're always going to see the offensive line staying as one unit.
You mentioned Carson Bruener after the game, and he seemed to be all over the place, hustle plays, running downfield. He obviously was moved outside in the spring and then back to inside. How have you seen him sort of get to this point, and what was your assessment of his game?
Yeah, so proud of Carson, and it's everything that we talk about. Tough physical play will always get rewarded here at the University of Washington, and Carson started showing up during training camp, making plays on scout team first. He's on, we're running our kickoff return against a scout kickoff, and he's on scout kickoff, and all of a sudden we're like, whoa, Carson is showing up. He's showing up on scout punt return, starts showing up on defense. So we're like, hey, you know what? We need to get this guy on the field somewhere. So now we start putting him on special teams. He was a huge factor on special teams this last game. Had a couple of tackles, and then now he's going to get more on defense. And then you saw what he was able to do on defense. Knows the calls, is running sideline to sideline, not making mistakes. And so for a young guy, just to see him blossoming is very nice to see.
From a strategic perspective, what did you see offensively from the first two games that really made you go, okay, we got to change this isn't working, that maybe showed up on Saturday? Yeah,
well, us not scoring points in the first two games, it's a fairly easy assumption that we need to put our players in position to go out there, move the football, and put points on the board. I mean, one of our jobs on offense is to score. That's what we're supposed to do when we get the ball. We're trying to go down and score. And so, very proud of our offensive line. Proud of Dylan Morris, of our wide receivers, our young wide receiver going out there and making plays, and our whole stable of running backs able to run the football. And just one game. We still got tons of improvement to do on that side of the ball, but it was a step in the right direction.
You mentioned putting your players in a position to succeed. Like Sean and Jalen had half of your offensive touchdowns. Is that a product of what they're able to do offensively, what your game plan was, or kind of just any player you plug in there into that design?
Yeah, I think those guys seized the opportunity of when they were in the game and obviously scored. We feel like we have a bunch of weapons that can also score. I mean, you didn't even mention Kate Otten there, so I mean, and he's scored a bunch around here, and also Rich Newton, and I could go on and on and on. Those guys just happen to have the touchdowns that you just mentioned. But I think more style-wise, we gave those guys opportunities to go score. But it helps when we have a talented player like Jalen McMillan in there, and also Sean McGrew. But we have some other talented players that could also do those plays as well.
Why did this weekend kind of make sense to get Sean involved versus the last couple of weeks?
Well, I think, so which I mentioned in the first couple of weeks, we're always trying to get our running backs on a rhythm. And in the spring and training camp, we were really getting Rich and Cam in a rhythm, and they were playing really well, and they deserved to get those reps. Kamari and Sean, they're right there as well, and we have a wealth of running backs that can get the job done. In this game plan, we were able to get more running backs in there, and Sean seized the opportunity and made some plays. But so did Rich. Rich made some really good plays too. Rich had his best game, and so offensively, I think they all had their best game, not just Sean McGrew.
His first start at linebacker. How'd you assess?
Yeah, he played well. He played really well. So excited for him. He's been banged up a little bit, battled back through, some little setbacks here and there. Seen his game could just reach another level. He's another young man that has matured and has watched more film now as an older player. He's still not even that old, but as an older player on our roster. Very pleased with Dan, and you're going to see him continue to play a bunch of football for us.
You guys started Fatui. You got to start next to Taki. And was that more of a reflection of how Fatui had been playing, or with Tuli, I know that he played a little bit as well. Was there some injury stuff there, or was it more just Fatui sort of seizing that?
Yeah, no, Fatui's been playing really well, and those three actually could be starters, and that's the way we look at it. And so put him out there, and sure enough, he made a bunch of plays. He's the one that caused the fumble that Braylon Trice was able to scoop and score. It's been a joy to watch those three D tackles who we have talked about need to take the next step in their game, playing better. And Taki, Tuli, and Fatui still have tons of room to grow and continue to develop. But I see all three of those guys as starters.
Did you guys run more run-pass option stuff offensively, or did it maybe just look that way?
Yeah, we definitely trickled some stuff in there, and then some play action stuff, which is different. There was definitely a mixture of all that. Some were run calls, some they did have the option to throw it, and some were fake run calls where we threw it.
How did you think Dylan handled that part of it?
Yeah, I thought he handled it really well. Unfortunately, one of the balls was tipped and got intercepted, which that can happen when you're running that type of offense, and which we see it when we go against it. But I think overall, with the production and the points, I would say he handled it really well.
Jimmy, what's kind of your overall evaluation of Dylan's progress in the first 3 weeks?
Definitely played his best game this last game. And I guess, if I give an overall assessment, he's played better each game. The first game, obviously, nobody played well, not just him. Nobody coached well, I should say that first. Nobody coached well, which in turn we didn't play very well. But if you look at his progression, he had his first road game, played solid. We didn't get the run game going, but he made a bunch of, really good throws against a good defense. And then in game 3, had his best production and led us to a victory. So I would say his progression, his arrow is going up.
You guys have struggled at times stopping the run against more pro-style offenses like a Michigan or a Stanford last year. Obviously, you know what Cal is going to try to do. Where does the struggle come from there, and how do you try to assess that and improve on that?
Yeah, so the first thing, for the first couple of weeks, and I gave our credit to the offense this last Saturday, the reason why we were able to get some turnovers and they couldn't lean on the run game was because we scored points and we made it a game. The first couple of weeks, we did not do that, and we got to do a better job of getting off blocks and tackling and not giving up the long run. And so that's the first thing we got to do on defense, which we gave up a couple of long runs in game 1 and game 2. And then we didn't allow the game to become a game, and the opposing offense stayed conservative and were able to wear us down. And so now as we get into game 4 here, it's the same recipe. We've got to be able to defend the run, get off blocks, tackle 2 really good running backs, go against a run scheme that's has been very successful. But then on the flip side, we got to make sure we're moving the ball, we're putting points on the board to make our opponent have to throw it and have to get out of a conservative, close to the vest offense.
You mentioned after the game that Bookie is one of those players that's grown every single game. What have you seen specifically him improve on as he's grown the first 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's just the details. It's the details. I wish Bookie would, if Bookie would have came here out of high school, hey, you just imagine where he'd be right now. Can I say that? I can say that, right? He's here. What's that?
You want him in high school?
Yeah, we were on him. So what's really cool now that he's here to see his game and his details of the position he's getting better at every single day and every single week, and he's played better from game 1 to game 3. And then I'm guessing he's going to play his best football this Saturday because he's hungry, he wants it, he's really smart, he's got a good savvy about him about football, he's got great football awareness, and it's funny watching his just eyes open when we tell him another detail. Well, if you see this, you can do this, and it's cool the interaction. He's just like, Coach, I've never heard these type of coaching points before, and then you have film to back it up, and then he gets to watch the film and how it's supposed to be done. And so his game's just going to continue to raise as long as he keeps working at it, which I know he's going to work at it. This guy loves football, and I'm glad he's a dog.
About him and when he was a recruit, what caught your eye when he was a recruit initially?
Yeah, he played really fast and was a tough physical tackler, and he just flashed on the screen. You could tell he loved football. That's what I remember. It seems like a long time ago now, but I do remember when he was at Calabasas and he was the fastest guy on film.
How long did you spend preparing for Cal last season before the game was scrapped?
Oh, geez. Man, you're taking me back. I mean, whenever it was announced that we were playing Cal, that's how long we were. I can't remember the time frame. That it seems like a distant memory. But whenever they said, "Hey, you're playing Cal," we started game planning that hour.
How do they look now versus maybe when you prepared last season? Do you remember very much from that?
Yeah, very similar. You know, they have carryover with their coordinators. Their last defensive coordinator, he did leave. You know, he's at Oregon now, and so there's a little bit different, but the structure is going to remain the same because Justin Wilcox is a defensive guy, and I'm sure a lot of the influence of what they're running on defense goes through him. So there's a ton of similarities, but they have the same offensive coordinator from last year, and they have the same special teams coordinator.
What is it about the way they play that made them such a tough matchup the last couple of times you guys faced them?
Yeah, they are very sound on defense. You know, I've said it before. I have a ton of respect for Justin, for Coach Wilcox. They're going to be sound on defense. They're not going to make a lot of mistakes. They're going to try to get turnovers. And then on offense, they have a really good running game and they don't turn the ball over. So that's going to keep you in every single game. And if you look at both those, you know, it's a one-score game, low scoring. I don't think either team scored over 20 points in the last 2 years in 2018 and 2019. If my memory serves me, it was like 13-10 and 19-17 or something like that. So, or maybe it was 21-17, whatever it was. That's going to keep you in every game. If you can play great run defense, you can run the football, get turnovers and not turn the ball over, you're going to be in every game. And we came out on the short side of both those.
What do you remember about the delay 2 years ago and coming inside and having to go back out and just being a part of that? It's the last time you played these guys.
Right. Yeah. First, I remember the electric atmosphere that was in Husky Stadium, minus the lightning. The electric atmosphere with our fans, and we had a punt return, I believe it was. We had a big stop on defense. The crowd was going crazy. You could feel the momentum in Husky Stadium, and then all of a sudden the break, and I remember how awkward that was. I have been around it before. It's happened a ton down in Tampa Bay. That's the lightning capital of the world, if you didn't know that. So I've had a ton of delays before, but this one was unique because it lasted so long. I remember there was a lot of discussion about if it continued on, that they would just cancel the game. And it was something we weren't expecting. But hey, no excuses. You got to go out there and you got to go finish the game. And we didn't finish it, and they played better than us when the lights came back on.
Did you ever think there was a point that night that it was going to get postponed or canceled?
I remember them walking around saying there's a chance that this is going to be canceled, not postponed, not redone, like it was going to be canceled. And nobody wanted that because then that would have given other people in the north an advantage. If they're playing all their games and they have one more victory than us or Cal, that would put them in an advantage. I was ready to wait that thing out and let's just wait for the clouds to clear and let's go play this thing. Let's go do it.
Have you ever had a game finish at, I don't know, what was it, 1:30 or whatever?
I have not. That was a first.
With your guys as an outside linebacker play, I mean, we don't see the sacks, but like you brought up before, I mean, Michigan ran it however 40 times, so not opportunities, but how would you assess on film how that group has played to this point?
Just overall, you're talking about pass rush, or you're just saying overall?
Well, yeah, overall.
Yeah, overall, they've played solid. We need to play better in the run game for sure in the first two games. I mean, if it becomes a slugfest for 4 quarters, we need to play better as a whole as on defense. You know, if it's tight, hey, we need to play better. We've had some production, like I mentioned in the first game. They held Ryan Bowman a few times, so the pass rush is there, and we got some penalties. Cooper, I believe, had the first sack the first game, if my memory serves it correct. Not a lot of opportunities in game 2, but those guys are doing their job. When they're doing their job, that opens up for somebody else. And so the production that we've been able to have, or the pass rush that we've been able to generate, you know, starts with those guys and the guys inside. But I think overall solid, but with a lot of room to improve.
Yeah, some drops at wide receiver Saturday.
And tight end.
Yeah, I think Terrell had one on the first drive right up his chest. Is that just guys just kind of working back in after not playing, or how do you?
Well, he was playing. I mean, he's played the last 2 weeks. I mean, it's just, I mean, these are things that we practice. Obviously, we don't practice to drop the football. We practice to catch the football. And I mean, I don't know how you're supposed to catch the football. I mean, this is part of the game, right? You see it yesterday in the NFL. I mean, guys drop the football. That's what happens. And sometimes guys get too excited and they take their eyes off the ball and they want to get yards after the catch, and they forget the first thing is to catch the football. Some guys feel footsteps. Some guys think they're going to get hit. Some guys want to dart up the field. I think there's a laundry list of things of why it happens. We just got to continue in practice. Run your route, catch the football, and then do step 3 after you catch the football, which is run after the catch.
Game you've coached here, that students are back on campus, what would you say to them to try to get them to fill the dog pack?
Yeah, I mean, they're extremely important to our success at home, along with the rest of our fans. I'm sure they're going to be excited. It's the first time they've been able to come to a game since 2019. It's going to be last year's freshman class and this year's freshman class, first time they've ever attended a football game. So I'm excited to feel their energy and feel their passion. I'm very excited for them to be able to have the opportunity to come watch some Husky football.
We got some turnovers, and I know you preached about it just takes time. Now that you got some, what does that do to the defense coming in, going to the next game in terms of being patient and trying to create more turnovers?
Yeah, we don't change anything. It's the same message every game. Our job is to score, get the ball back on defense. We're trying to score, which we did last week, and then we're trying to get the ball back for the offense if we can't score. That's our job on defense. That never changes. That's the standard around here. That's what our defense needs to be known for. If we're doing that, we're going to be winning a lot of football games, and so it doesn't change. This is game 4. Our job on defense: score, get the ball back. It starts with stopping the run. We got to stop the run first. If you can't stop the run, then it's not going to open up opportunities to get turnovers. And so that never changes.
You've got a cloud voice and playing time in the first few games. What stood out about their play, even though they're freshmen?
What stood out early on, back in the spring, was they could handle our menu of calls, and they could handle taking on double teams. They could handle pass rush from the interior. That's what stood out early on. Usually young guys like that, they cannot handle our menu of calls. They can't handle the run block schemes that they're seeing up front. And so when we saw those guys being able to be productive against our offensive line in the spring and in training camp, we knew that they were going to be ready for it. Now, as we get into real play and the spotlight is on and we're going against another opponent, I mean, just like everybody, there's going to be that point of like, okay, college football is really fast. All right, I got to be on the details of my position. I can't get out of my gap. I got to make sure I do my job. And that's just a growing maturation process that those guys are going through, along with a lot of our young guys. But happy where they're at right now. They're getting better every single week. And it's awesome that we have that depth with with those two guys, and they're getting some awesome reps right now to make them better.
Jalen obviously had a big game on Saturday. What are some of the, I guess, unique things he brings to that wide receiver group that stand out?
Fast. He's got length. He's tall, and he catches the ball really, really well. That's why we were so excited coming out of spring, coming out of training camp. With the explosiveness that we could have at the wide receiver position. When we had Terrell Bynum back in game 2, you guys saw the added pop that he gave us. And then all of a sudden, we have Jalen McMillan back, and then you saw some added pop there. And then it's going to be really awesome when we get the other one back eventually. So I don't know what else to say. I mean, you guys can see it on film. He's tall, he's fast, and catches the ball. That puts a lot of pressure on the defense. Now all of a sudden you got to worry about him, and now we can hand it off to whichever running back's back there, and they're going to make some yards.
When do you expect Rome back?
Week to week. Week to week.
Hey, Coach, can you talk about Alex Cook's block punt? Was that something you guys saw on film, or was that just a good play on his? Well, obviously it's a good play on his part, but.
No, so it was something that we saw on film. We want to give tons of credit to Keith Bonifa, and he designed a scheme to get after it. The cool thing was it was actually designed for a couple of other guys to get the block. That was the only time we had called the block, and he called it at the perfect time. But those other guys did their job so well, and they were so worried about those guys going for the block. And then the hustle play by Alex Cook, he ended up coming free based on the block scheme that Coach Bonifa put together. So great job by KB, great job by our punt return, our punt block unit, executing what we were trying to do. And then Alex Cook again just shows up. He shows up on kickoff. He shows up in special teams. Now he shows up on defense. Another player that we were rewarded because he showed us a lot of tough physical plays on special teams, playing on defense now, and that's a brave play. Running through a line of scrimmage, foot faking a guy, and having the bravery to go down and slam a punt. Great job by Alex Cook.
Jimmy, I don't believe we've seen Dom on defense since the taunting call against Michigan. Is that by design or just kind of the way things have worked out?
There's for our whole team, there's always going to be, if we have some mental missteps with poise, there's always going to be a price to pay. And now you have to earn your trust back. And when that trust is earned back, then more playing time will be given.
What are the pros and cons of having John Donovan upstairs as opposed to on the field?
Yeah, a lot of coaches do it different ways, as you guys all know. A lot of coaches do it a ton of different ways. There's been a lot of success with guys, at ground level, a lot of success guys up top. I believe I'll just say the pros of being up top is you get to see everything. You get to see what the defense is doing from a bird's eye view. You can be a step ahead. You can see field position better. And also the atmosphere is calm. You don't have to feel the ebb and the flow of the crowd, the referees, the body traffic that's on the sideline. You're trying to not get run over, and it can be chaotic on a sideline. And so I think there's a lot of pros of being up in the booth. Now, there's also pros of being down below and feeling the temperature of the team. Or, hey, do these guys need a kick in the butt right now? Do these guys need to get motivated? Am I going to be able to motivate these guys from, thousands of feet away up in a booth? Or do I need to be on the field in these guys' face, eyeball to eyeball? And so there's pros and cons to both. I think it did help us this last game. And we'll just kind of see how this is going to progress as we move forward.
Being a quarterback coach, in addition to being an offensive coordinator, there's kind of that stuff. So how does that play into
exactly? And that's that was the big reason why we started off last year of being down below, which helped. A quarterback playing his first college football game. Dylan Morris playing his first college football game of being able to settle him down and be there with him and almost have that bedside manner like a doctor. You're right there. Like, it's okay. Hey, they showed this blitz. everything's fine. Let's do this. Let's do this. Here's what we're going to do now. You don't get that same bedside manner when you're up on the booth on the phone. The cool thing now is Dylan's played 7 college football games now and has gotten to know his offensive coordinator, quarterback coach better now. We've been together for a little bit now, so now they can probably have the same type of communication over a phone now from distance.
Late sack from Jacoby Covington. And we saw some of that in fall in terms of him blitzing. Has he stood out as a blitzer, as well as the things that he's done as a corner for you guys?
I would say he stood out no, I wouldn't say that. I mean, he is a good blitzer, but he's a good cover guy. What I was proud of him on that moment was a defensive call that we didn't rep a ton, but he should know. And for a young guy to be able to execute that call in that moment, and he did it perfectly, and he hit the quarterback in the strike zone, no targeting, not a late foul on the quarterback, nothing like a young player would normally make like a mistake like that in that moment. I was very proud of that. Still has a lot of improvement, just like all of our guys do, but really cool to see his progression and for him to make a big play like that.
How is the team responding this week versus the first 2 weeks?
Exactly the same. We're going back to work. That's our anchor of our team. We're going back to work. We're bricklayers. Win, lose, we're going back to work. And our team has gone back to work.
We ask you all the time about how players handle kind of the peaks and valleys of the season. What about coaches, and what have you seen from Donovan in the last 3 weeks? He's obviously aware of what's out there. How has he handled all this, you think?
Same thing. For our team and for our staff, when I say team, this is everybody. The anchor of our team is to be a bricklayer. And whether we're being highly successful and now everybody thinks we're great, we need to go back to work and get our team ready to go win the next one. Or we're struggling and everyone thinks we don't know how to coach football or play football anymore, we're going back to work. We're going back to work. And so we need to have that urgency whether we're having success or we're struggling. And so what I've seen from our team, our whole staff, and our players is we've gone back to work, and we're going to continue to go back to work.
All right.
Thank you.